Although we are sharing this year's events virtually, the festival is based in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and we respectfully acknowledge the land on which we gather as the ancestral homelands of the Beothuk, whose culture has been lost forever and can never be recovered. We also acknowledge the island of Uktahumguk, Newfoundland, as the unceded traditional territory of the Beothuk and the Mi'kmaq, and we acknowledge Labrador as the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Innu of Ntsinan, the Inuit of Nunatsiavut, and the Inuit of Nunatuhavut. We recognize all First Peoples who are here before us, those who live with us now, and the 7 generations to come. As First Peoples have done since time immemorial, we strive to be responsible stewards of the land and to respect the cultures, ceremonies, and traditions of all who call it home. As we open our hearts and minds to the past, we commit ourselves to working in a spirit of truth and reconciliation to make a better future for all.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Andy Bullman, and we're going to be doing a Q&A with the director and star performer of Hive. And I'm so excited, you two. I love this movie so much. I haven't been this moved by a film in a while, and it's just incredibly special. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves if that's okay.
Yes, hi, I'm Blirta Basholve. I'm the writer-director of Hive.
Hello, I'm Yuka Goshi. I'm the main actress.
I think before we really get into sort of the Q&A, I would love, Blurta, if you can describe to me the events the story is based on, if that would be okay, to sort of set the story.
Well, the events are in the yes. For me, it was really interesting when I first heard this story of Fahriye. I mean, I come from Kosovo. I was born and raised in Pristina, which is the capital of Kosovo. And to me, it's not that far of an, let's say, of a situation to hear. But in a way, when I heard the story of this woman from my country who has lost her husband during the war in Kosovo and had people prejudice her about it, it was again, even for me, a very interesting situation. So that's why I was really moved by it and interested and a little bit sad about it, of course. So we went, and luckily I had worked with Ilka Goshi before on a short film. So we went together from the first time that we met Fahriye. And it was really interesting to hear everything she had to say about how she spent the war in Kosovo and how it was the life after war, having lost her husband and everything. But above, and I, as I always say, I could have made a lot of films about this woman because of the things that she has passed through. But most importantly, it was really her character that really inspired me a lot. And I always keep saying that I was lucky that Ilka was, and she can talk there from the first time, and maybe she can talk more about it. But for me, it was a really great luck because she lived with the character the same amount of time as I did. And it is really her character that I believe inspired both of us, but I can talk for myself. That it was really her character that really inspired me to do this story.
And Uka, your sort of performance, how informed were you by the actual woman, and how much did you add and take away? I mean, was it, yeah, tell me about those choices you made.
Yeah, I knew Fahriye's story from before, from the war. Like, we knew what happened in Krusha and in other towns and cities in Kosovo during the war. So I was no stranger to her particular story, and I had seen her on TV. What's interesting is that I also tried her Ayvar, the thing that she makes so good. And I was a fan before even meeting her in person. I became like a supporter of that local business. You know, I would go to the stores and buy especially Krusha Ayvar. And when we met her with Blerta back in 2011, she was so warm as a person, you know, like so welcoming and kind. And even though whatever she told us, her stories were heart-wrenching and sad and hard to absorb, she had this sort of dignity in her being, in her personality, that was so inspiring and so interesting to witness. And I just fell in love with her even more, to be honest. And ever since then, like the idea to make a movie about her dates back in 2011, as I said, and it took us like 8 years to make it the actual film. So during these years, so many things happened, but I did think a lot about her. Like she was on the back of my mind all the time, even though the movie was nowhere near to happen. For example, let's say into 2014. Still, I thought about her, and she she's just like a force. She's awesome. I knew that it's gonna be hard to fill in those shoes, and I knew that my responsibility is pretty big, but she was so inspiring, and personally I just wanted to honor her legacy, her figure, whatever she has been through. And I I was so moved when she saw the film and she liked it.
She liked it. Oh, so good.
Yes, she liked it, and she complimented, of course, Berta and myself and everybody involved. So that was the fulfilling part of the whole process, if I may say.
That's awesome. How did the script sort of begin? Was it a series of interviews? How many times did you go back and forth and visit her? I imagine when I watched the film that some of the dialogue was so stark and specific. There was one line that really stood out to me. It was early on, and it was lucky Hirsch will no longer startle every time the door knocks. And I was just trying to imagine the writing process to get down to such a specific, beautiful sentence. Did it take you years? What was that like?
Well, as Ulka said, it took quite a lot of years. I mean, even before starting to write the script, because first of all, I had to graduate, and then I had 2 kids. So a little bit, it took me a long time to start writing it. But then in 2015, that was a point when we really started working on the project. We got the producer on board and everybody, because me and Ulka were there from the first meeting. I did go a couple of times back to meet Fahriye after the first meeting we had with Ulka, because that meeting was really long meeting. So she sort of told us quite a lot of things, even in the first meeting. I did go a couple of times back to observe the women and to talk more deeply about many issues with Fahriye. But also with people who had worked with the families of the missing people. So actually, the line that you mentioned came off of a forensic doctor who worked with people. Whose families with the families of the missing people, and he helped me. His name is Arsim Gurjaliu, and he helped us a lot with costumes of people and everything, who work on forensics. And he told me things like what would family members say about when they find somebody or if they don't find them. So for me, that was really touching, and that was really hard to put on screen, something that you really I mean, luckily I haven't lost anyone during the war, but must be a horrible feeling to even today. Fahriye doesn't know where her husband is, and besides that, you're losing someone, you don't even know where they are, or not even what happened to them, or even if they're dead or alive. So it is really, for me, that was something that I really tried to understand. How does it really feel to go through that? And that's why this sentence was really important, because this woman was saying these people every day wonder what if their family members come back. At the same time, I tried not to go too often back to Fahriye, because every time we would go and talk to her, I mean, our meetings would last for so many hours, first of all. But then she would tell me that night I cannot sleep, because she's then, of course, bringing back all her memories. And for me, that was a little bit, I felt guilty each time I would go. So I tried to stay longer for that day so that I can get all the information I needed, but not to go too often, so that I don't have to make her go back to those memories over and over again.
Yeah. Wow. Such a big responsibility to tell someone's story like that.
Yeah, it is.
one of the main threads in this film, to me, it seemed to be that the characters are so trapped by uncertainty, that uh, I can't imagine trying to sort of live in that space and perform in that space. Uka, did you find that difficult? Was that
Yes, of course. As I said, it was a big responsibility, first of all, to honor Fahriye. And when you play a character as an actor, you have to dig in those deep layers, like peeling the onion, and to see why is she acting like this, and why is she saying this and not that, for example, because maybe I would have said that. And even more so, it was a bit exhausting, because no matter how much we rehearsed, and me and Dirta, all of these years we were in contact, and I would read the drafts that she was writing and everything. And I thought about Fahriye a lot, not just about the real Fahriye, but about my Fahriye, the one that I was living with. But it was a bit exhausting, because I think that I never had a chance to kind of like get away from the fact that I badly wanted to honor her, and that put a way much pressure on myself during the whole process. But luckily, Blerta was there to guide me and direct me and everything. And being from Kosovo, we are war children. We were teenagers when the war started, and we lived in the 90s when our parents were expelled from their workplaces because of the oppressive regime and all of that. So we knew that kind of feeling, that uncertainty, that not having closure for many things. And I just had to dig into my layers of feelings, into my past, into my personal pain, and just try to be as honest as possible in front of camera and deliver what Blerta was asking to be delivered.
Wow. This story is obviously so sad, but there's a lot of moments of joy in this film. There was one of my favorite moments is when you can see how proud your character is that she's getting her license. Like, I love that scene so much. Just the quiet smile. It's really lovely. It's really, really lovely. How important was joy in this? Did that factor in on purpose? Was that a purposeful choice to make sure that you saw the characters enjoying themselves?
Well, I mean, yes, because I mean, and I wish I had done it a little bit more, to be honest, in this film, because as Ilka says, we are war children. But even during the war, I lived in Pristina, and even during the war, and even during when they were bombing Kosovo, I think people find a way to live. I mean, I hope we don't have to find ways to live in war again, or in any hard situation that we don't deserve as human beings, first of all. But in a way, people find these life moments where you laugh even when you're really scared. And we were laughing during the war. I mean, I was laughing with my sister and my brother, although we were really scared that anytime the paramilitaries can enter our apartment and do whatever they want. But you just find those moments of joy. But also, while talking with Fahriye, she told me that she would gather the women so that they can talk before they started to write, to work. And then almost not almost every time, like every time somebody would start telling their story and then started to cry, and she was like, we were going insane. So she was like, I just had to like put the music on, make them dance and make them laugh, tell silly jokes, do silly things. Sometimes she even dressed like a bride to do things, so that things that make them laugh. But she really was like their psychologist. So when she was talking about starting the business, which I think was really extraordinary, that she doesn't have an university education or anything, but she was a visionary. She wanted to do something. She didn't want to go insane. She didn't want to just sit down and wait for mercy. She wanted to act because, of course, assistances were getting lower. She had kids to raise, and she was like, if my kids would go in the wrong roads, then I cannot do nothing when it's too late. So she just wanted to gather all the women so that they can work. But she was like, work kept us sane so that we can take care of our kids. And that was for me really important, how smart she was about it, because she was going through the same pain as every other woman at the same time. But she then was thinking, okay, I will not go insane. I will keep looking for my husband. I will keep working, and I just need to stay sane because of my children and because of myself. So that was for me really important, and I wanted to show that because that was interesting. Because everybody, there are people who cry more and people who cry less, but I think it's never like one way or another. So it's always people find moments to make themselves happy with whatever they have. And I think Fahriye did it in the best way she could to just make their lives easier for herself, but also for all the other women. That was really important for me, to show these nuances and these moments in life that are true and that they really happened, and that they I think they are true for everybody. We're not always crying, we're not always feeling sad, even if our lives are difficult.
This film was your feature-length directorial debut, is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
What a debut. Was there a moment during filming when you thought to yourself, this is going really well? And conversely, is there something you would change now that the film is out?
There's always things to change. I mean, each time I watch it, I'm like, I could have cut it here. But one thing was that I really swore to myself on every process of the film is that I will do everything that's under my control or ability, and that I will give everything that I can to this film, just because so that I don't say I could have done it better. I didn't try harder. So that was my aim from the beginning, that I will write as many drafts as necessary until I think the script is ready to shoot it. Of course, we always have deadlines to fulfill, and I'm pretty good with deadlines, but I really worked hard and never complained. So then we got Ülka, Ülka was there from the beginning, but also our producer Ülka was really supportive, and his whole production team. So I think I was just lucky to get everybody in the team that was really working with dedication and love, and because it was also important to have a good energy on set, so that we enjoy a little bit. Our job is pretty hard, so we really in the conditions we have, I just really wanted the crew to feel good about the work that they are doing. So there were many moments that I felt good about the scenes. Of course, there were moments where I wasn't sure if that's going well or not, and especially the rape scene was the hardest one. That's why for me and Ülka, and I was very uncomfortable doing that scene, but we left that on the last day of the shooting so that we don't feel uncomfortable, but we also try to just make it as comfortable as possible for the actors and everybody. But besides that, I mean, there were a lot of uncomfortable moments during the shooting, especially shooting in the water, in the cold and everything. And especially because of Ülka, because I was always sitting next to the monitor, so I was warm and nice all the whole time. But I felt bad about the actors in general, but mostly for Ülka, because she was going through most of the hard moments. But there were many moments that I really enjoyed during the shooting. There were moments that I thought that, oh my God, is this the one? Is this the scene the way it should be? But as I said, at the end, we really tried it during the shooting, and then also during the editing process, which lasted quite long, with the editor Enis Sarachi. We really tried to never say this is good, and pushed everything as far as we could to like work hard on it. And then I didn't know what to think, if is it going to be a good film or not. I just really wanted to put all my love and all my work, and put a lot of work on it, and then I was like, it's going to be whatever it's going to be. At least I won't regret that I didn't work harder on it.
Yeah. The rape scene that you mentioned, of course, is very hard to watch. And what I think is really interesting about the acting in that scene is, in a way, she's moving sort of slowly, and I just think that's so interesting. Was that a hard choice to make? I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a scene like that. It's very interesting.
I will talk a little. I mean, for me, when you're shooting rape scenes, I mean, it's hard. For me, it's hard. It's a little bit of a maybe also because it's a little bit of a trauma, but also because I was always kind of scared that somebody's going to rape me, and women are always more attacked for raping more. I don't know how to put it in English better, but even when I was young, I was like always when I would hear a case of a rape, then I would be like, oh my God, what happens if somebody rapes me? But also as a filmmaker, and luckily it never happened to me, but even as a filmmaker, or at least when I think of making sex scenes or rape scenes or scenes that we've seen in a lot of films, then I'm just trying to not do the cliche things that not cliche, but the things that we've seen a lot. But at the same time, you try to bring something original, but at the same time, how can you make the actors feel comfortable while doing a scene like that? So for me was a huge struggle, and plus I didn't have a lot of experience in shooting these kind of scenes. So for me, it was in many levels very, very difficult. And but I guess everybody's responding good to the scene, and we couldn't make the actors feel comfortable because they hurt themselves while doing it. But at least I think the scene came out good. But Ilka can talk for herself, of course, how she felt during that scene.
Ilka, yeah, how was that scene?
It was hard. I mean, thank goodness it was the last scene that we shot, and then it was a wrap. And I had bruises all over my body. You know, making films in Kosovo is hard. I mean, making films everywhere is hard, but especially in Kosovo, you have small budgets and we don't have stunts to do things for you or acting coaches to guide you on the set and all of that. We have to do everything by ourselves, and you have to do it one time and then another and another and another. And sometimes it is a lot. But the actor that played the rapist, if I can say, Bahrio, Astrid Kabashi, is a great actor and a good colleague and a friend of mine. So we worked with Blerta, of course, directing and guiding us. We worked on how we should do this, because we didn't want to have like nudity, or if you want to do a rape scene, I mean, this is just my opinion and I may be very wrong about it, but you either have to go like all the way in and make it as much believable as possible, or you have to find a very poetic, subtle way to give to the audience the feeling that, yeah, that person was raped, but not to be too nasty, if I can say, because just the word rape is nasty and in whatever. So it was hard and it was exhausting, but it was the last scene, and I knew that this is it. We're gonna do it as many times as Lirta wants. And after it was done, I literally had bruises all over my body because he was pushing me inside of the car seat, and then I pushed him, and we hurt ourselves, like our limbs and everything. But when I saw that scene, I was like, okay, it was worth it.
There's so much symbolism in this film. The bees, of course, even just your character smokes more openly as the film goes on, and the symbolism. Can you speak on that? Was that the bees in particular? What are they representing?
For me, they're representing the women, her inner anxiety, mostly her husband. So we really when deciding about the film, a lot of them came also from talking from Fahriye, because my approach, because it was based on the true story, was like to go with realism and as much as documentary style, looking for everything. And that's why we tried with acting and everything to do um, to be as original as possible and to be as close as possible to the real story and the real characters. But then I was like, if this is a woman who is so strong and stoic looking, and also because Ulka played it and she looks like that, I wanted to find something that will symbolize what's going on with her inside without having to describe it or say it in other ways. Because a lot of times when we're making films in Kosovo, we're a small country, some people know about it, many people don't. So we're always ending up a little bit in a trap of describing the culture, the political situation and everything. And for me, it was really important that I focus on the character. That's why the camera is mostly with her. But then I use these small elements of bees and water and these kind of things to just symbolize her inner world and her inner anxiety that she was going through. So that's why for me it was like a process of her healing with them, but also a great reminder of the husband as well.
Just yeah, just love this movie so much. Sorry. And you won a trio of awards at Sundance. What was it like? Were you shocked? Were you so happy?
Yeah, well, because of Sundance, nobody's listening to me anymore because I said I really wanted to go to Sundance as a first festival, and the crew listened, the team listened to me, but then they were like, "We're gonna go and we're gonna win," and I'm like, "Okay, we're lucky if we get accepted, so don't get too excited." Then we got accepted, and everybody was like, "We're gonna get awards, we're gonna get awards," and then we got we got the announcement for the first award. They told us about it, and they were like, "We're gonna get more." I was like, come on, but let's be happy with one award. let's not wish for too much and then be unhappy. It's good, we got an award. And then, but when the audience award and the grand jury prize were announced to me, and they recorded me getting those announcements, and it was shocking. I mean, the audience, they told me first about the directing award, then the audience award. And directing, of course, I was very happy because it was I was a director, but also for the film. Then the audience award, what can it be more rewarding than to get an audience award? Because you know, we're making the film to be seen. And as I said, making films from a small country like Kosovo, it's always tricky how the audience abroad are going to understand the film, and how will they feel about it, and how will they connect to the characters, because it's a specific country, it's a specific person, it's a specific time. So for me, I was always wondering how the international audiences will react. And when we got the audience award, that's really rewarding for all the work and all the sacrifices that we've done to make this film, because it took a lot of sacrifice for almost everybody in the team to make this film. And then the grand jury prize was just too much to handle. So I really asked 3 times, "Are you saying that we got the grand jury prize?" Because the whole crew was waiting for me outside. And then I was like, okay, I have to tell people in the hallway what we just got. And then the producer was like, "Did you hear it well?" And I was like, come on, I asked her 3 times, so it's it. So it was really exciting, honestly, because as I said, everybody in the crew put a lot of work, a lot of love, and working in low budget films, it's sacrifice for everybody who says yes to join to the team. But for me, I just feel lucky that everybody joined, and I'm just so grateful that we got all these awards, and it was like an acknowledgement for the whole work that the whole team did, not just for me.
Yeah, wow, it's just so such a great story. Yeah, the red pepper relish that we see in the film, what is it called? The
Ivar.
Is that actually a product that she does make, or does she make pickles? Because I was trying to research her company, and I was trying to order some products. I was just wondering, have you tried all her products?
Yes, she makes pickles, but she makes her main thing is Ivar, and yes, she started with Ivar, and then she started making pickles and other foods, which we make usually for winter, but nowadays they're available all year long.
Oh, yeah.
And she is spreading her business to US, and in Europe she already sells. So I think pretty soon people in the US can order her products. But they are really, as Ilka mentioned, she had tried them as well. But I love her products. I think, and she just opened a new factory now, and she's employing about 100 women. So on March 8th, she inaugurated her factory, and we were there, and it's really nice that she is expanding her business. And as I said, she was a visionary from the beginning, but her products are highly recommended and very tasty, actually.
Good.
But
I just
we'll
wanted
try.
to I wanted to give a little shout out to her products.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You both mentioned that the filming process in Kosovo is different, and making films is harder. How so exactly? What is it like compared to making a film in the US or Canada?
Well, what is it? I haven't made a film in Well, I made short films in US. Yeah, I almost said I haven't made a film in US, but I did make shorts while I was studying there. But it was student films, so it's difficult because of many things. For some things it's easier, because for like shooting permissions and just friendly shooting environment, you have all that. It's easy to get shooting permissions, and people were really friendly with us in everywhere we went, although it's not easy when you say yes to somebody to shoot in your house or anywhere, even if they're paying for it. It's just difficult. But in general, I think it's difficult because of the low budgets, and because then we had like 28 shooting days, and of course I wish we had more, because we had to go through so many scenes per day, and it was hard for everyone. But then it was hardest for Ilka. She was in every scene, so like acting in so many scenes is very hard. And then for many other things, you have to cut on the budget to make things work, whether that's like just the working conditions, or whether that's like the set itself. So that's something that we really are trying to champion for, that our government raises the budget. They already did raise the budget, because a lot of films are having great successes, especially this year, but they did in previous years as well. But I hope they will raise the budgets even more, so that we actually produce more films per year, have more film departments in Kosovo, because sometimes we have to import to like bring people from other countries that we're co-producing with. But I do think that there are a lot of capacities to develop it. So all we need is the money, and then we'll do the rest.
Great. And the background melody, that sort of melody we hear throughout the film. Can you tell me about that? That is so haunting.
Yes, that was inspired from a song, Adele, Per mu pranvera, will the spring ever come for me? It is an old traditional song, and I don't know how it came to my head, to be honest. I think I was just singing it and listening at it while writing the script. So for me, even during the film, I was humming the melody the whole time, because it helped me kind of for the pace of a shot or something. So it sort of became like a leitmotif of the film naturally for me, without having to search for it. And then because Switzerland was a co-producer in this film, we had a Swiss composer, Julian Pienot, whom I gave the song, and then he composed the music based on that melody. Of course, there are a lot of parts of the music in film that are not based on the melody that he created himself, and then I really fell in love with those parts of the music. But the main leitmotif was that song. And for me, it's important that to use music when it helps the film, or when it's like when it's an additional element. I don't like using a lot of music. I prefer more realistic sounds, and I prefer sounds from music. But at the same time, when the music is used properly, of course, it's amazing. I think what music can do, no other art can do. So for me, music is always I use it very specifically and very few spaces, but I think it's really important. So this is a little bit how we work, but we try to keep it as minimal as possible, just also because of the general realistic feel of the film. Also.
And so just one last question. What's next for the film? Where is it going?
The film is going to many festivals. It will travel. It's going to Zurich Film Festival. It's going to Hamburg Film Festival. It's going in Spain. There are all some of the festivals. I don't know which of them announce the program, so I don't know if I should mention it. All of them. It's going to Busan. Kosovo just officially made Hive a candidate for Oscars.
Wow.
So we're working on it. It's going to be released in New York and LA in November 5th and November 12th. Yeah, many things coming for Hive. So let's hope we'll have a good rest of the journey.
Good luck, and thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.